governors got together and said, look, let's play for a hog. Let's play for a pig.
Ben and Eric gather at their laptops. One's a Gopher, one's a Hawkeye. Two feeble minds. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pod of Rosedale, a bronze pig full of hot takes.
All right, excellent. Well, today we have a very special guest, Randy Johnson from the Minneapolis Star Tribune. Covers the Gophers, among other things, for the paper. Thanks for joining, Randy.
Oh, no problem. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Well, we are very excited to talk Gophers here. So, Pod of Rosedale Big Ten podcast, and we want to get the experts in to help us preview the teams that are coming in. So, I guess we want to dive in. Before we get to the 2023 Minnesota Golden Gophers, I want to talk a little bit about the 2022 Minnesota Golden Gophers because they're kind of a fascinating team. One of the things is they ran the football more than almost anybody, not just in the Big Ten, but all of college football. I mean, 67% approximately the time they ran the football. One of the things we're going to want to understand is how likely we think that is to continue. But was it just Mo Ibrahim? Why were the Gophers running the ball quite so much?
Yeah, I think that was the main reason. Their wideout room wasn't as deep as they would like to be. They had the injury to Chris Autman-Bell that caused a lot of the issues. They played to their strengths. Mo was obviously a very good north-south runner, especially very good yards after contact too. They had a All-America center in John Michael Schmitz, a couple other linemen that that they lost after that year, but veterans in Axel Rushmeyer and Chuck Filiaga. So that they were playing to their strengths mainly, and maybe at times could be a bit of a detriment. The passing game didn't develop as much as you would have liked. They had ways to win games, and that they stuck with an old standby of ball control, keep the defense on the sideline, that type of thing.
As a follow-up to that, what fascinates me is so the number one team in terms of yards per a passing attempt was Ohio State, but the Gophers were number two. So they didn't pass a lot, but boy, they squeezed a lot of juice out of that orange. I was shocked when I was doing my season previews here. It's like, wow, I didn't realize the Gophers were that effective in the passing game. But I think it's a lot of that. You just get a lot of teams, pulled in, and you create some opportunities down the field. The other thing that fascinated me, the Gophers, they completed 52% of their third down attempts. I mean, was that just the running game as well? Why they were able to do that? I mean, I think it was like fifth in all of college football. I mean, that's just an absurdly good number.
They didn't get behind the chains a lot, so that helped. They were able to be productive on first and second downs, especially with the run game, and that put them in good situations. So that helped the percentage get up there on third downs.
And then also in that same, so the Gopher defense also was the best in the Big Ten in terms of they were sub 30%. I mean, they just didn't let teams convert on third down very often. Was there a particular reason for that? It was just superb defense. What was?
I would say Joe Rossi, the coordinator. He's very, very good coordinator. It's been like a light switch came on once he got the job and took over after about 7-8 games in 2018. The Gophers defense has been a lot better than it was the first year and a half under PJ. He's done a really good job of simplifying things, getting people in the right positions, not getting them out of position. He's really proud about they don't allow a lot of explosive plays, and that's kind of been his bread and butter. And a couple times where they did lose some games last year was because they did allow an explosive player too. So if they can keep those under wraps, they're a really good defense.
Sure. So I guess transitioning now to the upcoming season in 2023, new quarterback, right? Tanner Morgan's gone after 6 years. New backfield. Yep. We do have Autman-Bell returning for his 7th season, I think, if that's right.
He torn ACL after in the third game last year, so he's back for one last go around.
But so I had my issues with Tanner Morgan. I think a lot of this sort of ground and pound style, from what I could see, was maybe some inability by Tanner Morgan to stretch the field. Kaliak Manis played towards the end of last season. I thought came in and showed some promise in stretching the field. Is this season kind of offensively, does it just go how Kaliak-Manis goes, or how do you see it?
Yeah, it's going to be a different offense, I think. I don't think they're equipped to run and just, run up the middle and run inside zone and outside zone like they did with Mohamed Ibrahim. Basically, you're going to have a quarterback who's quicker in Kaliak-Manis. He's got a bigger arm than Tanner did. You look at Tanner, he had a very productive career, especially early. 2019 led him to 11-2 record when he had a Rashad Bateman and a Tyler Johnson to throw to. Didn't have quite those weapons the last couple of years, so they played to the run game more. But I think you're going to see them try to stretch the field more horizontally to set things up this year.
Yeah, I mean, Spanford, maybe one of the best tight ends in the country. He does have weapons, so I think some growth by him should be expected and should really improve their chances this season.
I think so too. Atham came on pretty strong at the end of the season. Had a very good game against Wisconsin to win that one. Nice fourth quarter touchdown pass that sealed it. So they're you're looking at a different offense this year. They brought in a couple transfer receivers and Corey Crooms from Western Michigan and Elijah Spencer from Charlotte. So both of those guys have been pretty productive in the spring game and then looked pretty good in fall camp. You got Chris Ottman-Bell back. You have probably the best receiver they got is Daniel Jackson. He came on strong last year too. So there's more weapons there. Then you also have Brevin Spanford, who he can stretch the field pretty good too.
It's safe to say the Gophers offense can be maybe a bit more versatile. They were kind of like just a sledgehammer in 2022. There'd be a little more tools in the toolkit and a little more varied in their approach.
Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned losing 3 6-year starters. Well, not starters for 6 years, but 6-year players on the offensive line. They're going to be able to replicate, or are they losing a lot when you lose a great center and a couple of other interior linemen? Is that going to also limit you and kind of force you to be a little looser?
Yeah, it's gonna take a little time, I would say, for that line to come together. You don't have a center like John Michael Schmitz. They've moved Quinn Carroll from right tackle to right guard. Probably fits him better. He was an okay tackle. He could probably be a pretty good guard. Nathan Bowe looks like he'll be coming in at center and placing John Michael Schmitz. That's obviously he doesn't have the experience of John Michael, but he is an older player. I think the one thing you might be seeing with the Gophers now is that they're not going to say sophomores and redshirt freshmen to replace senior starters. They're going to fifth-year seniors or fourth-year juniors. So the program in itself might be maturing a little bit age-wise.
Excellent. So I think we'd be remiss to not chat a little bit about the controversy with the program over the offseason. I guess there were some allegations about PJ Fleck's toxic environment. Do you think – I think he was asked a little bit at the media day. Do you think that's going to have any impact on the season at all?
Not really, no. None whatsoever, really. I mean, I think, the athletic director, Mark Coyle, basically addressed it and, shot it down. It was a, story with unnamed former players in the program. So the Gophers, that they've made their comments on it and they put it to bed.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like any current players have reported any of those issues. I think Spanford was asked about it, and he said he wasn't aware of any of that stuff while he was there. So
yeah, the Big Ten media days, the players pushed back very hard against the allegations.
So we spent some time talking about the Gopher offense. You lose a couple of players in the secondary, but what do you think? I mean, is the Gophers' defense going to get even better in 2023? Is it going to have some trouble replicating that pass defense on the back end as strong as it was in 2022?
I think the key there is going to be what the pass rush can do. Their pass rush wasn't very good last year. They seem to have filled it better with internally and just guys maturing into bigger roles. They got a redshirt freshman who's come on really strong in Anthony Smith. It seemed like there's a lot more depth up front, so they should be better on the pass rush. They they hired a very dynamic defensive line coach in Winston Delana-Badare, former Gophers defensive end. He's really seemed to have a really good influence on the players he's had. It seems like a group with a lot of energy, so that should help if they get that pass rush going better. Secondary, you have a very good safety in Tyler Newbin. You have a pretty good quarterback in Justin Wally. Then it's kind of cobbling a bit together with newcomers and a couple transfers. We'll see what that second cornerback looks like. That's still being determined in training camp. Haven't had a whole lot of chance to see the team. So we'll know a lot more come the 31st against Nebraska, I guess.
Yeah, I gotta say, as the resident Gopher fan, this schedule really scares me. I don't know how you feel about it, Randy. I think I saw something like the 7th ranked strength of schedule in the nation. Are you as scared as I am? I'm worried. I got to be honest.
I'm not scared at all because I won't be playing in these games.
Well, that's good. You don't have to face Ohio State's pass rush then?
It's a very challenging schedule. ESPN, using one of their metrics, had it as a second strongest behind Ole Miss. So it's your 3 non-conference games are against bowl teams from last year, including the trip out to North Carolina, and then you have both Michigan and Ohio State on there, along with your Big Ten West opponents. It's very challenging. The Fleck has been basically calling it a very opportunistic schedule. They're trying to put a positive on it to where to be the best, got to beat the best, right?
So, getting a little bit more towards the prediction side of things, I think we've got the Gophers over and under is at 7 games right now, which puts them at a bowl game seems to be the floor. But is this a team that you think, given the hard schedule, is going to be able to kind of wrestle away the final Big Ten West championship away from Wisconsin? I think this will be the last one, maybe ever. In my predictions, I picked them second behind Iowa, Wisconsin third, where a lot of times that'll come down to a tiebreaker too. Of course,
it's usually it gets bundled up in there pretty good. I think if things go right, they could have a nice year. The questions are, how quickly is Ethan Gallek-Manis going to be a difference maker there? How quickly do the new wideouts get blended in? How's the new running back situation coming along? You get a transfer from Western Michigan and Sean Tyler, who's been very productive there. Different back than Mohamed Ibrahim, more of a kind of a do-it-all thing. He can catch the ball in the backfield too. How does that offensive line come together? And then obviously the defensive points we just talked about.
Yeah, on that, so is Sean Tyler the front runner to be the replace Ibrahim, or is it going to be more committee? He had so many carries last year.
He probably might be one in that committee, but they have a couple youngsters that they're pretty high on in a redshirt freshman in Zach Evans, and then a true freshman in Darius Taylor.
Okay, so a lot of carries to go around potentially for every brigade.
Yeah.
Well, obviously the thing that matters the most to me is, does Fleck get over the hurdle and beat Iowa for his first time? Does that happen this year? What are your thoughts on the matchup with Iowa?
I will say this: if they score more points than the Hawkeyes, they will. Yes. It's kind of a prove it. Show me you can do it. Very, very close the last 2 years, especially. It's you guys probably were thinking that Mohamed Ibrahim was going to go in with that winning touchdown before Jack Campbell made an outstanding play to knock that ball away. It was they're right there. They just got to finish against them.
Flat out the Gophers have outplayed Iowa the last couple of years. It's just been mostly sheer blind luck and a couple of just one-off plays like that just barely made the difference for Iowa to win. Even though Gophers more yards, they look just like they're dominating Iowa statistically. Just can't quite get over there. But it does feel like the Gophers are due at some point, and Iowa's luck's going to just run out.
Yeah, I don't think that streak's going to go on, for 50 years or anything like that.
Well, sure. It'd be pretty great.
Let us pray that doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's the Wisconsin streak that they had was 14, and Fleck ended that in his second year with the Gophers. He hasn't been able to get past Ferentz, and so it's that'll be a key. I circle that game as the most pivotal this season.
It feels like that's really the last kind of hump for PJ Fleck. I mean, other than Big Ten West title is not going to be a useful moniker anymore because now you're competing with 17 other teams. So it's going to be a different metric, but that would have been the last thing is, can you beat Iowa and then get a Big Ten West title, get to the Big Ten championship game? It does feel like maybe it's going to happen this year. Not because I think necessarily the Gophers are going to be all that much better. They're going to be pretty close, but things are going to just bounce the Gophers' way, I think, in 2023 final.
Do you have a number, Randy? Do you have a prediction on how many games you think the Gophers will win?
No, I think it kind of depends on if they go. I think they could go 3-0 in the non-conference if they can pull that upset at North Carolina. I'm thinking 3-0 and 2 or 2-1 there. Things go well. I could see them getting to a 3-loss Big Ten season, maybe 2 if things go perfectly. It just with both Michigan and Ohio State in there, they're gonna have to, if they want to get to 1 or 2 losses, you got to upset one of those. And that's a pretty tall order when you're talking, 2 of the top 3 or 4 teams in the country.
Yeah, that's tough. I know last year Iowa had Michigan and Ohio State last year, and it was like, it felt like you were just banking on 2 losses no matter what. So it feels like the ceiling is just brought down just a little bit because beating those teams is just so tough because they're just so talented.
And I'll even say that they could be a better team this year and have a worse record than last year just because of the schedule.
Sure. Yeah, no, it's tough. I mean, that road game in North Carolina. I mean, I don't know North Carolina that well, but it seems like a big step up from any of the Gophers have played for a while. I mean, that Colorado was very much a down program last year when the Gophers played them, and New Mexico State was also obviously really, really struggled. But it does seem like a big upgrade. I didn't want to get so much transition in the Big Ten. I mean, we don't even at this point know what the schedule is in 2024. We don't have any idea. I don't think we even can really say what opponents are going to be on the schedule, let alone away. I mean, dates and times.
We know 3 of them, I guess, is about it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So do we think the Iowa-Minnesota rivalry will survive the latest round of Big Ten expansion?
Yes, I definitely do. I definitely think that'll survive, and the Minnesota-Wisconsin rivalry will survive too. I think the Little Brown Jug game with Michigan, that'll be one of those that appears every once in a while, as it has, in the last decade. So, but it was a very, very high priority for the Gophers to have those 2 as permanent rivals.
Got it. So you think even with the addition of 4 more programs, that everybody's just going to stick their foot in it. We got to have Iowa and Wisconsin on the schedule every year. That's important for the Gophers. Okay. That's my biggest worry. It's the Gophers, Wisconsin, and Nebraska. From Iowa's perspective, I really want those 3 games to survive. After that, put whoever you want on the schedule, whatever. Now, from the Gophers' perspective, do you think Big Ten expansion is a net benefit? I mean, ignoring whatever the impacts might be on overall in college football, do you think benefit for Minnesota to be adding these teams from the West Coast? It's going to help recruiting, money, make it more difficult because you now just got more quality programs you're competing against?
It's going to be more. It's going to make it more difficult to win the Big Ten in football. But certainly, you have a couple more teams there, or 4 more teams, and that have had success. Money wise, yeah, I'm sure that helps. If you got more money coming in. Recruiting wise, that'll be interesting to see if they expand their efforts on the West Coast. I mean, they've been mainly a Midwestern team. They've gone down south a bit and had some success getting guys like Rashad Bateman out of Georgia. It's certainly something that they can explore. They've really raised the recruiting profile since PJ Fleck's been here. You're not always getting a top 20 program, but I think he's getting the guys, he's getting in the door on more people.
Yeah, well, Randy Johnson from the Star Tribune, thanks for joining. I don't have a whole lot of other questions. I did want to just jump in. You'd mentioned you're heading to the fair for some Gopher events. Favorite fair food? Do you have a go-to fair food you're looking forward to?
Yeah, there was always it's like I first get in the fair, there's the turkey to go stand where they have these really good turkey sandwiches, and it's right next to the milk building, so you can get your turkey sandwich and a milk for $1 there for the milk, and it works out perfectly. Then there's always the later in the day, I have to try the Summit on a stick. It's the Summit beer.
Oh yeah.
Which is you guys can figure that out.
Any new beers being released that you know of? I guess I haven't followed that.
I know they have some new ones going out there. Every year they have some new ones, and I forget. I didn't look at it that closely. I mean, there's always something pretty exotic out there. There've been things over the years like cotton candy beer, that type of thing.
I had a pickle beer once. Wasn't a huge fan of that.
No, that sounds pretty nasty.
Yeah, it sounds really gnarly. Did a cookie beer once at the Minnesota State Fair when I lived up there, and it was fine. It didn't really taste all that much like cookies. It just had chocolate chips around the rim, basically. It's fine.
Excellent. Well, like I said, I don't have any other questions. Really appreciate your time, Randy. Thank you so much for joining, and hopefully we can celebrate at the end of the year a great Gopher season.
Hey, you guys have a good one. Appreciate your time too.
Appreciate yours. Thanks so much, Randy.